All right, we're going to do 14.7, and I'm going to break 14.7 into several separate sections. We're going to start with number problems. And so it's always best to remember that when you do these problems, you are only going to have one variable, and your equation should have fractions, since that's what we're focusing on in rational expressions. So if you can define your variable first, and these number problems, we're just going to choose a random variable. If we have a letter that makes sense, then we'll choose that letter. But for here, I'm just going to let x equal the first number. Okay, we have two numbers, and the relationship between the numbers is described in that first sentence, but I have to let x be one number, and then it says that another number is 2/3 of that first number. So we're going to say 2/3 of x is going to be the second number. Remember, anytime it says of, you will have multiplication. Then once we define our numbers, now we're going to go to this sentence, and it says the sum of those two numbers. So I take the first number and add the second number, and that gives me 40. So there's my fraction. And once I see my fraction, I'm going to go ahead and clear my fractions, clear the denominators, just like I've been doing in all the rational equations. I'm going to multiply everything by 3, and that gives me 3x plus this 3 cancels this 3, and that leaves me 2x, and 40 times 3 is 120. Collect your like terms so that you get 5x is 120, divide through by 5, and you're going to get x is 24. Now, the way Hawks is going to present it is they're going to have the smaller number and you will have a box to fill out, and then they will say the larger number, and you will have a box to fill out. So once we find what one number is, x is 24, now I can take 2/3 of that. So I will multiply 24 times 2/3, and that's going to give me 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 24 8, and 2 times 8 is 16. So the smaller number is 16, and the larger number is 24. Now in the next one, we're going to have a couple different equations to do before I actually solve for the monthly salary, but I am going to let M equal the monthly salary. Now, before I can figure out what his monthly salary is, I need to determine how much he's already spent on rent and his credit card. So it says he spends 1/4 of his monthly salary on rent and 1/7 of his monthly salary on credit cards. So now I have to figure out the total amount that he has already spent. So I need to get a common denominator. Now this is an expression, so I'm not solving anything. I'm just determining how much of his monthly salary he's already calculated. So I'm going to get that common denominator of 28, so that I have 7 28s M plus 4 28s M, and that tells me that he has already spent 11 28ths of his monthly salary on those two items. But it says that once he takes out that much that he's spent, what remains is $714. So the equation is you take his entire monthly salary, take out the portion that he has spent on rent and credit cards, and what is left is $714. So there's my fraction. I'm going to clear the fraction by multiplying everything by 28. And so that gives me 28M. This 28 cancels this 28, and I have 11M. And 714 times 28 is 19,992. Simplify, collect my like terms. 28 minus 11 gives me 17m equals 19,992. Divide by 17, and m is equal to 1,176. And that's his monthly salary, okay? All right, the next one. If 4 is subtracted from a certain number and the difference is divided by 2, the result is 1 more than 1/5 of the original number. So now this one, we only have one number that we have to find. I'm going to let n equal my number. And now I'm going to write my equation, okay? So the equation says 4 is subtracted from that number. So the 4 has to follow the minus sign. And then that entire difference is divided by 2. The result, there's the equal sign, is 1 more than 1/5 of the original number. So I can say I've got my fractions, I've got a rational equation, I need to get rid of the 2 and the 5, and so the common denominator is going to be 10, and I need to multiply everything by 10. So this 2 goes into this 10 and leaves 5, but I have to take it times the entire numerator. 1 times 10 is 10, and this 5 cancels this 10 and makes 2, and 1 times n times 2 is 2n. Go ahead and distribute inside the parentheses, so you get 5n minus 20 is equal to 10 plus 2n. Subtract the 2n. I'm going to come over here. And now I have 3n minus 20 is equal to 10, because that goes away. I'm going to add 20. And 3n equals 30. And last but not least, I am going to divide by 3. So my number is 10. Now this next problem, you will see this in your homework, and I always put this one on the test, okay? And a few things that you need to remember is, first, we have a numerator of a fraction that always goes on top, and we have a denominator on the fraction that always goes on the bottom, okay? So I'm going to say let n equal the numerator. And the reason I say let n equal the numerator is because the way the denominator is defined is in relationship to the numerator. So I'm going to take the numerator and put it on top. And then it says that the denominator is 3 more than twice the numerator, okay? So that's my original fraction. Now it says if both the numerator and denominator are decreased by 5, so I take 5 from the top and I take 5 from the bottom, it says the simplified result is 9/22. So this is going to be a proportion, but before I do anything, I want to make sure that I clean up this fraction. So extend this a little bit, okay? So now I'm going to leave n minus 5, and then I'm going to collect 3 minus 5, so I get 2n minus 2, and that equals 9/22. So now I'm going to cross multiply. So I'm going to take 22 times n minus 5. I'm going to take 9 times 2n minus 2. So I get 22n minus 110. I get 18n minus 18. Move over. I'm going to move over the 18n. And that gives me 4n. And don't forget, that's a negative 18. And then I'm going to add 110 so that I get 4n is equal to 92. Divide through by 4, and so my numerator comes out to be 23. But what they want is they want the original fraction, and so go back to this up here and highlight the original fraction is defined like this. So I'm going to come over here and say my original fraction is, the numerator is 23, the denominator is 3 plus 2 times 23, which comes out to be 49. And that's the original fraction that I'm going to enter. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. I'm going to do another video on the work problems so that you can separate these notes.